The ramifications could be catastrophic. That is where artificial intelligence and I agree if there's no gold found in Fort Knox. But there's more to it than just that. We're going to talk about what artificial intelligence thinks would happen if we find there's no gold there. And what about our gold reserves in other locations? We're going to give my insights as well to all of these scenarios as we explore. This is the question that has been asked of me since I started reporting about Donald Trump visiting the vaults at Fort Knox, and also being attention given to a potential audit that could occur there to discover whether or not there's gold inside of those hallowed walls. Very secure location there in Fort Knox. Now, let me just say at the outset that I believe there is gold in Fort Knox. It is audited every year, but those audits are sorely lacking in detail and assurance. They basically are just telling us the counts, which have not changed in many years, and that the gold is there and accounted for. Now, one thing we do know is that the gold that is there are mostly not in what are referred to as good delivery bars. Those are 0.995 or better and 400 ounces. Those bars that are in Fort Knox are older bars that are about 98% pure, and I'm not sure exactly of the weight. Certainly it is somewhere probably near the 27 pounds or 400 ounces, but nonetheless, according to official counts, there's about 147.3 million ounces in Fort Knox alone. And that's about half of the gold reserves. The rest of it is in other locations, U.S. Mint locations in Denver, West Point, and New York, and other locations. But what does Grok say? Grok is now the most advanced artificial intelligence platform on the planet right now. And this is what they say about the gold in Fort Knox. Before I get there, I want to remind you to be your own central bank and purchasing gold, and that's where Summit Metals comes into play. They have very competitive prices on a variety of gold products there, so check out summitmetals.com. If it were discovered that there were no gold in Fort Knox, the implications would be massive and multifaceted, touching on economics, trust in institutions, and geopolitics. Fort Knox, officially the United States Bullion Depository, is supposed to hold a significant portion of the U.S. gold reserves, about 147.3 million ounces per the last official figures, give or take. Here's what could happen if that turned out to be a mirage. Economically, the U.S. dollar could take a serious hit. The dollar isn't directly backed by gold anymore since the Nixon administration ditched the gold standard in 1971, but gold reserves still play a psychological and symbolic role in global confidence. If Fort Knox is empty, it might spark a panic about the U.S. financial system's stability. Investors could dump treasury bonds, the dollar could slide, and inflation might spike as faith in the currency erodes. Foreign creditors like China, Japan, might start questioning the U.S.'s ability to back its debt, even if that's more perception than reality. Trust in the government would crater. Conspiracy theorists have long claimed that the gold's gone, sold off, stolen, or never there. Proof of an empty vault would fuel those narratives, likely leading to widespread outage and calls for audits of every financial institution. The political fallout would be brutal. Heads would roll, from the Treasury Department to whoever's in the White House. Congress would probably launch endless investigations, and public cynicism would hit new all-time highs. Globally, it'd be a mess. Other nations might see it as a sign of U.S. weakness, accelerating moves away from the dollar as the world's reserve currency. China and Russia, already pushing gold-backed alternatives, could seize the moment. Gold prices would likely skyrocket as markets scramble through a paradoxically an empty Fort Knox might also raise questions about how much gold is really out there anywhere, potentially destabilizing that market as well. Practically, though, proving it's empty is tough. The last full audit was in 1953, with partial checks since, and the Treasury insists that the gold's there, 4,983 metric tons of it. As of their latest reports, if someone cracked open the vault on live TV and found cobwebs, the immediate shock would dominate headlines, but the real damage would unfold over months or years as markets and geopolitics adjust. Now, on the flip side, some argue that the gold's absence wouldn't matter as much as people think. The U.S. economy runs on faith in its institutions and military might, not gold bars. But that's a hard sell when the vault's supposed to be the bedrock symbol of stability. Either way, it'd be a historic gut punch, one part economic crisis, one part national identity crisis. So that is where artificial intelligence gives us some insight. And they're right on that last part. We are dominated by the strength of this, and this is the dollar, and our economic and military might here in the United States. We're no longer on a gold standard, but the gold is the ultimate anchor of trust, even if it is not the part of the economy anymore, or backing the currency. And as I mentioned earlier, well, we very well could have a myriad of different options in Fort Knox if it does exist, even from classic gold coins such as you see here, or maybe even foreign gold coins, maybe sovereigns or the Mexican 50 pesos, you never know, as well as other types of bars as well from well-known added on to it, especially from rehypothecation. But my feeling is this, that if we find there's no gold in Fort Knox, it would certainly be a potentially a cataclysmic event, and I think it very well would erode trust in the United States, not only from its citizens, but around the world, especially considering that nations around the world have been adding at record levels since 2022 to their gold reserves, not just from the BRICS nations, but also other European nations, and have been adding gold as well. And so therefore, when it comes to find out that the world's largest holder of gold in reserves doesn't own a single ounce, well, that would be a game changer, I think. And yes, gold's price would skyrocket. I believe that would be the case for sure. There would be no obvious revaluation, no opportunity to reset anything, which means that our debt and the interest on the debt and the full faith and confidence of our bonds would collapse, I believe, and because there's really nothing else to revalue to in a worst case scenario. It would be a disaster if we didn't have the gold. And folks, let me just say this, that I believe if there's no gold in Fort Knox, then that would really reveal that, in a sense, we still do have a loosely tied gold standard. It would reveal that out in the open for the world to see, because loss in confidence in the dollar and in the United States because there's no gold means that we were on a very loose gold standard before, the standard that we have the backup, the ultimate insurance policy. And in a sense, what we have now, the 8,133 tons of gold in reserve spread out through multiple facilities, is essentially a lesson for us all, that we can be our own central bank by holding gold. And yes, when we buy gold, we buy it to store it and to appreciate its beauty. But nonetheless, having gold in your portfolio is something that provides an anchor of trust in times of need. And those times of need are when you need to sell the gold for these fiat dollars in order to make ends meet or for an emergency. That's what it's there for. Same thing with the United States of America. This is why we have the gold. This is part of what gives us power. You've heard the saying, he who has the gold makes the rules. Well, I think in part that is true with the United States of America, who at one time had about 20,000 tons of it on our shores. And of course, this artificial intelligence from Grok is exactly right. The last full audit was back in 1953. The viewing of the gold in 1974 was just that. It was a photo opportunity, and that was it. What could be coming up here now with Donald Trump, presumably, and Elon Musk and other invited dignitaries to view the vaults at Fort Knox is not going to be an audit. But there is an audit request in that has come in now from Senator Rand Paul, and I hope that that is taken seriously. And so we'll see what happens from that, and it's got to be transparent. I believe that audit should be for all to see. Now, the current audit is there for all to see. Right now, the audit that has been given every year is available at the Treasury's website for everybody to see. But nonetheless, it is not very complete. It does not instill confidence that the silver or gold is there. And yes, silver is a part of that. But gold, the ultimate stable store of value, will remain in place. And I tell you what, it would be, in a sense, very good for those of us individuals who hold gold, because our gold would just immediately skyrocket in price. Now, in due course, once everything is digested and the information is digested that there is no gold, gold's price may subside a bit in due course, but I think it would be really, in a sense, a new all-time high, and it would stay high for quite a while, and which means that we'd be sitting pretty, and the United States government would not be, and that would be even worse, I think, in many different ways. But I think this is highly unlikely. I'd almost be willing to bet money that the gold is there, but it is not in good delivery bars. It's still the old style. In order for those to get refined and recast, would be a very costly venture. And the thing is why do it when we have the gold? And if we can assay it and we can know it's real, then that's really all that matters. So let me know what your thoughts are about the gold in Fort Knox. Do you really think it's there? Most of you will say no. And what do you think about this analysis from artificial intelligence and my views on it? I hope you found this video informative, insightful, and educational. We'd like to extend a multitude of gratitude to each and every one of you for taking the time to watch, and to encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.